But we actually figured out where they were coming in. We triangulated in, and the next morning we actually got up, probably 03:30. Well, we're all heading out, and we have our nods on, and everything's just this different shade of green.
What's a nod?
Night vision goggles. So we're heading out on this this patrol, and we're pushing out, and it's absolutely silent. And in Afghanistan, there's no street lights, there's no lights at this time, there's nothing, it's just dark, and we're moving. And we know where we're going up this hill. So we're pretty much a single file. Some people start scattering a little bit as we start getting up this hill. We come up to this house that was at the top of the hill. We know this is where these rockets and mortars were coming in from. And a couple of our guys kick in the door, they rush in, they grab these two military-aged men. They grab them, they pull them outside, and I saw their faces. And these guys were huddled around with blankets all around them, and they beat up to a pulp. They were both just beat up really bad even before we got there. The Haqqani network, some of the Haqqani members had come in that night before. They beat these guys up, and they started launching the rockets and the mortars from there. When they were done, they grabbed their gear and they were gone. They left these two just beat up on their own dirt floor. Roger that. We start pushing through the town. We're going to start clearing houses, make sure there's nobody else here. So we break off into some squads and we start pushing out, and as we go, I come up to this one house. And you guys probably know, but in Afghanistan, all the houses are surrounded by a wall. It's this mud, brick, and like hay type wall. Inside there is their yard and their house. But the thing is, to get into that wall, there's typically one door. And the one door is typically made out of a light, thin steel. And we're hearing these doors opening all over as we're starting to clear these houses. And the one I come up to, it's actually not a steel door at all. It's just a cow's hide. So I go to move the cow's hide out of the way, and as I come in, I bring my weapon in, and I start clearing, and I start looking to the left, and all of a sudden, this dog is coming at me, and he's barking, and his hind legs are real low, and he's almost foaming at the mouth, and he is just about to bite me. My weapon goes on fire. I'm seeing through my scope and my CCO, the red dot's right on him. Finger goes on the trigger, and as it does, I just start to hear, no, no. And it's just this little kid. He's on the other side of the yard, and I open my left eye, and I see him. He's yelling no, and he just doesn't want me to shoot his dog. So I see him, and I see him out of my eye, and he's actually wheeling his wheelchair through his yard to come and get his dog. And his hands are covered in mud, because his whole yard right now is just mud, but he just wants to get to his dog. And he's yelling no, because he doesn't want me to kill his best friend. The dog actually turns last second, goes back to the kid in the wheelchair, and I put my weapon back on safe. And I lower my weapon, and we end up talking to this family. We sit down, we had tea with this family, and I start to realize this isn't his war. He's not this enemy. And I start to hear their story of, what they're dealing with while we're building this combat outpost. And I started to realize we can't just turn this place into a piece of glass. We can't just drop that single bomb and just make this problem go away. This isn't his war, he's just subject to it. And what I realized is that was me at 6 years old. All I cared about was my dog. And I finally realized what empathy really is when somebody I don't understand or even know actually looks like, even in a combat zone.